Everybody. So I am so excited to introduce our next segment, which will be a workshop with, my cat is like really trying to mess this up. You're so funny. With Shawna Bluestar. Shawna, I saw that you entered, but I just want to make sure that you're here before I introduce you.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm here.
Yes. So, sorry, 1 second here. Okay. So we have our workshop with Shawna Bluestar, Vision of the Ancestors, remembering our common roots, celebrating our differences. Indigenous speaker Shawna Bluestar, Shawnee, Lenape, Azteca, shares guiding spiritual messages at this pivotal time of great awakening. She speaks to hidden truths to help bring us back to ancient understandings that our ancestors once knew. Shawna reveals what's behind the social, political, economic, and ecological crises negatively impacting our planet and quality of life and how to move forward. She offers insights into the many lessons of our times to know the gift that our ancestors dreamed for us all. She shares how we can learn to sit with the uncomfortable with compassion and find greater clarity, peace, and unity. Shawna offers a vision of healing for this time of the great shift. It is time to come together for the healing of all peoples, our beloved Mother Earth, and our future generations. Join Shawna Bluestar in this uplifting and inspirational workshop. And I will pass it off to you, Shawna.
Thank you so much, Britannia. It's so good to be here with all of you. And I look forward to connecting with you for some questions. I have a lot of insights to share today, and I really feel it's an important time to be coming together and really just coming into visions of healing and possibilities for our future right now, and really also just honoring where people are in a lot of transformation on a personal and collective level. I see that's part of learning to reframe these things in a really good way so that we can really honor each other and our own individual paths and our own healing and just what's true for each and every one of you. So, but I like to begin in a sacred way and offering a traditional Lenape prayer. I also want to just acknowledge all of the incredible work that goes into the country fair. I want to acknowledge the original nations and peoples of the land, the Kalapuya, and wherever you may be, honoring the original nations and peoples and land of your area, and really kind of learning that history as well is really important in these times. But I will begin just by sharing a short prayer for you. And I understand that this language is about 14,000 years old, which is my traditional Lenape language. So I feel very happy to be able to speak these short words that I know. Kuhana gishele ming wanishi. Ok wamua te keku anamilian wanishi. Pio kendikeshok. Petio he kamakana yushienta. Wita kamika. Milinen welamal sawakan. Welatanamawakan. Milinen weltek tamakan. Ichi kaski ikalichi. Pechi petausanen yushienta. Wita kamika. We give thanks for the good things that you give to us, Creator, for the good waters and the sun shining upon us on this earth. We ask that you bring us good health and happiness and a good road to walk upon so that we may live a longer life on the earth. We bless the waters, the rivers, the lakes, and the oceans, the soils and Mother Earth for the good food that nourishes our bodies. We bless all of the lands and continents, the valleys, the peaks, the mountains, Pachamama Gaia. We bless the animals and the fish and the birds. We honor ourselves and each other as sacred beings, and we are connected to the earth and the cosmos and all that is, knowing that all things are interconnected. And we pray for all of the future generations and the children and that the healing of the sacred feminine and sacred masculine will come together and be reunited in deep love, honor, and respect. We give great thanks and just send lots of blessings out to each and every one of you and to your families and communities in these times. Many blessings, Wanishi. So for those of you that don't know much about my background, I just want to say a few words about that, but not take too long. I just did a talk with my father showing the doctrine of discovery, unmasking the domination code. And that work has been scholarship for my dad of 40 years or more. And so I just feel very grateful to be now joining him and collaborating, speaking on the domination code. And I also share secrets on what I call the reverence code, really just looking into the healing aspects, the beauty of really connecting to our roots. And I'll share a bit more about that. But I just really see that the original spirituality of the planet is the way forward. And the original spirituality of the planet that I see is that all peoples throughout the planet have indigenous roots. And there's a deeper understanding and healing that's possible when we can connect in that way. I also shine a light on really reframing the ways in which a lot of the challenges that we're seeing, this domination, dehumanization, the patterns and challenges of the social, political, ecological, economic challenges that we're seeing, the racial challenges that we're seeing, all of these things that are coming up, I see that there's a gift in this. And that's kind of something that I'll teach in this workshop as well, is how can we reframe what we're seeing and experiencing to allow us to come into greater understanding of each other and ourselves, and as well how we can move forward in a deeper healing way. So I just kind of also, I usually have more of an opening to sit with people and ask how you are specifically, but I'll just do it kind of throwing it out there for you to process in your own time here. But just coming into awareness about how you've been feeling and what you've been experiencing in recent years and all that's moving through right now. There's so much coming about. You know, have you been feeling anxiety? Have you been feeling loneliness through this time of the pandemic? Have you been feeling anger? There's so many things that are really triggering for people, and it's understandable. Have you been feeling grief? Grief of things that have been lost in terms of just like maybe what you considered normal of the past, or grief of loved ones or friends and not being able to see them, or loss of loved ones or friends. All of these things are moving through us. And so I just want to honor you for whatever's coming up right now for you and all of these things. It's a lot right now. But I also want to share just some different perspectives, as I mentioned, of how we can start to really work through what's coming up for us. And really honoring this is a time of like inner transformation as well as outer transformation that's possible. It's not easy to sit with our shadow or go into this deeper emotions. Sometimes people don't know how to do that. So I just really say it's about coming into it in like little baby steps. But what I really want to emphasize today as well is that like really shining a light on the true potential that each and every one of you carry. And one thing that always sits with me that I find really beautiful is how our ancestors and elders have always said that each and every one of you is made of stardust, and how science is now catching up to that. Like it's actually a real thing, I think is a beautiful way of understanding, and just like how incredible the potential that each and every one of you has to really begin to be a co-creator in this time of transformation, of healing, of really beautiful, brighter future ahead. But it's also a matter of like doing our inner work is part of this process as well. And I really see it's kind of like a caterpillar to butterfly moment where we're all being invited to sit with ourselves. And it's not easy, and it's hard, and it's kind of sucks in some ways. But what's amazing is that like once we go, like if we're courageous and we have the tools and the ways that we can walk through these darker times, it's learning to walk in the darkness. It's learning how to be okay that we're not clear about what does the future hold for us. But there's certain tools that I'll be sharing to really help in this way, to start to come into a deeper understanding of your own, what I call like your own innate superpowers, really tapping into your own potential and the gifts that our ancestors, I feel like, have wanted for us. I feel like that's kind of a universal truth that is really beautiful to explore and understand and connect with. I also talk about something called the time that was before, which is messages that have come to me over the years. I have a lot of spiritual messages that have come to me, and I've begun sharing those over the years. And I feel like this is part of the invitation, is coming into this awareness of what is that connection to the past? How have things been in the past that can be a way forward for the future that we all want to create and see right now? So I also just want to talk a little bit about this great reckoning. We're seeing things of Black Lives Matter, and I feel like each time there's a spotlight, there's been a spotlight on the Me Too movement, there's been a spotlight on missing and murdered Indigenous women, or a spotlight on really important aspects of the climate change issues. We've seen hotter weather patterns in the Northwest than we've ever seen in recent months or in this past month. And, they're saying that this could become the new normal. These are not things that are supposed to be normal. And so I just feel like this time of great reckoning on all of these levels is really inviting us to examine the ways that we've been living, the choices that we're making. How can we start to really be reflective and mindful about what impact we're having and how we can become good ancestors for the future as well. We also had recently, we just talked about it in my the film showing Q&A with my father. If many of you may have heard about the missing, or excuse me, the children's remains of the residential boarding schools up in Canada. And these are patterns that I think, for our Indigenous families that have survived through those challenges of the intergenerational trauma of the boarding schools. There's stories, so many stories and accounts of the experiences and negative trauma that they had there. But it's interesting how through this new technology, these remains of these children were, I feel like it's exposing what was there, what's been hidden in plain sight all these times. And so again, the ability to really like open up Pandora's box and say, this is important that we see this. This is important that we see the trauma for what it is, so that we can heal it, so that we can tell the truth about it. And yet it's not comfortable, but it's important so that we can really come to awareness on a new level for most people that haven't necessarily known about it before. And my dad and I speak about something called the domination code. Based on my dad's work of 40 years in research and writing and traveling the world, he's written and spoke about the Vatican documents written in the 14th and 15th century, issued by the Vatican. And, these papal bulls that were written in Latin and he's translated into English, they really were declarations of domination and dehumanization that said about these patterns that we see playing out still today on so many levels. So in those documents, one specifically, it says specifically to conquer, vanquish, and destroy all Saracens, pagans, and enemies of Christ, to put them into perpetual slavery, to take away all of their lands, possessions, and gold for God, glory, and gold. And so that was issued over and over subsequent years. And you see the patterns and how over the course of history, those things have led to genocide and slavery and domination and dehumanization on so many levels. But I also want to just frame that these patterns as well are affecting each and every one of us. It's not only Indigenous nations of Turtle Island or Abya or African nations, Asian, Pacific Islander, Australian. It's like all over the entire planet, including European Indigenous peoples that I also speak on that level. the history that gets overlooked often is that there have been and still are Indigenous European nations. And the spirituality that we all share, the original spirituality that I see from my own research and understandings, is that we all once had and have, many still, an understanding of that innate spiritual connection to the earth, to the all that is, to creator, and having an Indigenous connection that I think is really strong and part of our healing path forward. So we talk about the domination code and the doctrine of discovery, the papables. And my dad's movie is The Doctrine of Discovery, Unmasking the Domination Code. So I do invite people to watch that. But I really just want to put that into an emphasis of the more we can see the roots behind these common issues of racial challenges, social, political, ecological, and economic, I feel like this is bringing us together in a deeper way to see that we all share common woundings in that domination code, but it plays out in different ways. And each and every one of you have intergenerational traumas, no matter where your ancestors have come from, that really are affecting you today in all of these different ways. I feel like having an emphasis in that perspective can help us to kind of come into a grounded sense of being able to talk and share our own experiences instead of coming at each other like, you know, really conflicted and at odds with each other. I am not saying that there hasn't been people perpetuating, you know, all kinds of violence and challenges and conflict on each other, because that has been and certainly is happening. But I'm wanting to help frame a way of coming into conversations that are really important at this time to be able to have a grounded, centered, healing way of connecting. But I feel like as well, just looking at the collective and all of these different things that are coming up, I see it almost like alarm bells that are ringing. And as I mentioned, that shadow coming to the light in order for us to really examine things in a different way, open up to critical thinking of history that we may not have known before, and coming into different and new awareness for clarity and peace. And that each and every one of you offer really powerful gifts and talents within yourself to be part of the healing solution. And then I just want to share a little bit about that time that was before. I think that message that I received kind of shines a light on what that picture of our ancient past has been like. So I'll just share that really quickly. There was a time not too long ago when nature was sacred and our people lived with the land, a time of peace, balance, and harmony, a time of great beauty and wonder and magnificent surroundings. Our people followed the laws of the universe and nature and lived with great reverence for the earth, Mother Nature, and all living things. Our people were one with the earth and felt connected with the animals, the trees, and plants. Our people did not fear nature because it was not so removed from them as it is now. It was part of them. Our people listened to the wind, smelled the air for changes, and were also in tune with their inner voice and trusted that. They knew about things that we've since forgotten or have been taken from us. They had a knowing about things to come or the happenings of the day. They had an understanding of the magic and Mother Nature and all living things. They had a knowing about things to come and a deep understanding of the healing nature of the nature spirits, and could speak with the ancestors, spirit helpers, or guides for direction. And this is not so very strange as it may seem today, for the spirit realm is right among us. This was before patriarchy and organized religion and fear-based society. We've lost sight of this old harmonious way of life with city lights, so many distractions and greed for material things. These new ways were placed here and forced upon us, and they've made us forget the importance of the original ways. By following the original instructions, we lived simply and abundantly. We lived in tune with the spirit and gave thanks for the magnificent beauty and all life in our world. Our eyes were still sharp and good, and our hearts still pure. A part of us still remembers. A part of our spirit still feels this deep connection to our true culture. our Earth Mother, and the sacred old ways. We are now in a time of great remembering of the truth of who we really are, and to uphold the sacred old teachings, to bring back balance and restoration to our people and Mother Earth. She is in suffering, and all people of the world will continue to suffer if we do not help. We are all sacred, beautiful people, and it's time for us to stand together in this great renaissance of our time. This is a time of peace and balance and working together for the greater good of all to live a good way again. Many of our ancient ones knew this time was coming and passed it down through our prophecies, that we are the ones we've been waiting for, and each and every one of you carries these seeds of greatness. So I just really wanted to share that as a piece that has come to me, that I feel speaks to that original spirit that I feel like many people that I work with, I do healing sessions, intuitive sessions with people, and I hear it again and again. So I've done a lot of festivals, and I love going to festivals and meeting people in that way. But I feel like people are coming to me and talking about their dreams and talking about their deeper spiritual connection or transformations within yourself. So I just want to invite whatever way that might be coming up for you to just really honor that. First, it may not be comfortable. I know that I had a time where I couldn't talk about spiritual messages. I couldn't talk about things that, that I see really are beautiful gifts within each and every one of us. And this is part of that innate spirituality and part of the tools of learning to walk in the darkness, as I was kind of mentioning before. These are going to be needed to really honor and respect what has been and what is just part of each and every one of you. I think that's something that has been taken away and distorted for many years, where, you know, even you look at the Inquisition and the witch burnings and all of the things that happened throughout Europe, and people being targeted for being healers and incredible wisdom of plant knowledge and all of the incredible things that people have known through time immemorial, and the distortion to put that into a negative light. So I feel like this is a time of transformation for us to really bring it back to these are the powerful gifts of how we can move forward and heal, and really honoring ourselves in a different way. Because this narrative that there's something wrong with us, this narrative that is causing people to have anxiety about who they are or feeling like they're different in these different ways, you know, this is part of the healing as well. And I see the more that we can celebrate our differences rather than being at odds, there's a pattern that I feel like is connected with that domination code of superiority and inferiority. And so people are constantly like vacillating back and forth, like, oh, I'm better than, less than, better than. So contempt for self or contempt for other. And what does that do? And so the more that people can honor and accept and invite in like this self-love, people may not feel like there's peace, but if there's like a raging battle within themselves, then there can't be peace. So that's why I talk about like the more we can do our inner work and really start to honor these incredible things within ourselves, see the beauty within each and every one of us. Again, like even that is not easy to sit with the good about ourselves, because for so long the messages have been like, oh, you shouldn't say nice things about yourself. You shouldn't brag and say that you're smart, or you shouldn't, you know. So then how bizarre, like we're not supposed to say good things. So I feel like it all is distorted and upside down. That's kind of part of my course that I offer, is the module 1 is a world upside down, because it just looks at everything that just is actually really crazy about the world and what the world is saying, and how bizarre that we sort of think this is how it is. It's just normal, but there's something wrong. We don't feel good in it. So I also just want to offer a short little meditation, kind of like centering right now. And I want to open up for some questions soon, but I want to just invite us to really connect with like nature and yourself and your inner spirituality, however that manifests for you. I just say like to each your own, and whether that's you don't believe in anything specifically, that's beautiful. Whether you connect with nature, that's beautiful. Whether you have a specific spiritual practice, that's beautiful too. But just even if it's honoring yourself in this way, connecting, just inviting yourself to connect. And if you feel called to close your eyes, but I invite you to really like feel into your breath. I think it helps to put our hand, we have our vagus nerve here up of the, what they call your high heart, which is just below your throat, right above your heart area, high chest area. It feels really comforting, which is nice. And putting another hand on your belly as you're just taking some nice deep breaths in. Feels really good and centering. And in these times when you might be in difficult conversations or whatever is going on around you in the world, just allowing like some time for yourself. This can always be a go-to tool. So just taking some nice breaths and closing your eyes again if you feel called. And one more nice deep breath in and letting it out. And just allow your awareness to feel really centered in the seat of your chair, or if you're lying down. And feeling your energy connecting with the earth. No matter where you are, you can always connect with the earth energy. And just allowing yourself to feel even more centered and grounded as you allow that awareness that this earth energy is always here with you to nourish, guide you. Think of all the beautiful foods that come from the earth mother, sending a lot of gratitude. Just feeling yourself grounding, centering even more. Just allowing a release, relaxation to set in. And allowing that energy of the earth to also just come up into your being, filling your body and all cells of your body. And feeling a deep connection with the ancestors as you connect in this way. Feeling a connection with the all that is, creator, great spirit, God, goddess. And allowing yourself to just feel an expansion in your heart, sending blessings and thinking of loved ones or an animal, something that brings a lot of joy and comfort. Just feeling yourself expand even more into the circle that we're in here today, into this community and beyond. And knowing that we are in a space of present moment, that there is no time or space. and the power and potential within that. And as you connect in this way, just knowing and honoring the power and potential within your own being, within your own self. And allowing a feeling of love and gratitude to wash over you. And just knowing that you have this energy, this power and potential at all times. And just allowing yourself to feel grounded in this, knowing that you have guidance with you, you have support with you. And taking another nice deep breath in, letting it out. Just feeling an expansion, relaxation. Allowing this to just come into you as a daily practice, as a way of really honoring yourself each morning or each evening before going to sleep at night. And feeling yourself coming back into awareness in the present moment here in the room. You can rub your legs or your hands together to kind of come into here we are in our bodies. Thank you. I hope that was a nice centering practice. And I just invite that, like, through all of this time where we're just working through so many angles and levels and layers, it can be a lot. And so I find this even more powerful and meaningful. Like if you can just connect, like if you have a space where you can be on the grass or walking barefoot outside, or even just taking a walk in nature. That's one of my favorite practices each day. Just really being present in nature, I think, is a part of this deeper finding the peace within. And that's part of the process right now, is how can we really be in a more centered, settled space for ourselves so that we can do the good work that we are called to do. It's not going to be easy to be out and all of that's coming about when we're like not settled and we're just like really conflicted inside and carrying a lot of stuff. So I think the more that we can do these practices, which can be simple, they don't have to be complicated, but it is just taking time, and it doesn't necessarily have to take a lot of time. It can take just a few minutes, or just take, a couple, even like a minute, even if that's all you have for a second. And I really do see that, like, this is part of what the ancient ones understood, this deeper connection with nature, and how this really attunes our being to our inner nature and our heart in these really beautiful, simple ways. And just really like sitting, listening, I find that as a spiritual practices, like messages literally coming in on the rain or the wind, or people that are like, musicians or singers, like they receive a song just sitting by a creek. Like these are powerful connectors that can be really transformational for us in doing the work that you're here to do. So I just really want to honor that for you and what the possibilities are in that way. And just let Mother Nature do her magic with you as well, because I think there's just a lot of beauty with that. I do want to, as I said, open up to some questions, but I really see as well, I want to share some different ideas for opening that, like for instance, when people are going into conversation or circles, and even just in daily life, when we're seeing all of the things happening out there, How can we go from a state of being like really conflicted and almost like, I feel like people go into this kind of like a pouncing state, like, like, aha, and they want to like go into the defensive. One thing that I think is powerful is being able to just find some practices that we can move into a space, kind of like, first of all, I would say that centering practice as part of that, but also into an appreciation practice or a gratitude practice. Like, what small thing of gratitude or appreciation can I find right now, even if it's like, oh, I'm so angry, I'm so upset about this, there's no way I could ever find anything to be appreciative. But I find like being able to turn things upside, like all the way around, and allow myself to just be in the process. Like, I feel really upset about this right now. I'm going to just own that. But also an appreciation, like, okay, why is that? How can I appreciate that that's where I'm coming from? But also an appreciation of learning a different perspective or seeing, that's interesting that I'm able to see that's where that person is coming from. And then also just coming into a space of deep listening. I think that's one thing that people tend to just go into a triggered state and they don't go into listening. They just want to be talking at the other person. So the more people can be like, okay, we're going to listen and then listen or reflect and take in fully what the person is saying or repeat back. These are practices of respectful communication. I think these are really powerful ways that we can move forward in challenging times and challenging conversations, as well as that centering practice. And then also allowing a relaxation into new awareness, into curiosity to learn more. Even if it's like this, I could never understand where this person is coming from, but I'm going to be curious to learn more because this may be part of my growth to understand. And there could be some healing here. So I feel like those simple things could be powerful to practice. And I wanted to bring that in as well. I think the more that we can just really celebrate each other in our differences, in our cultures, in our languages, all of the beauty of like foods and music, there's just so much beauty in culture. And I love that we can learn so much in that way, and really just letting go of this contempt for others and contempt for self as a pattern that was really just put out there, I feel like, to keep people at odds with one another. So the more we can be like in this awareness of that and say, oh, hey, I'm not going to participate in that like really destructive pattern anymore, I think is it's empowering, I would say, to be able to do that as a practice. And just really like sitting on a daily basis with remembering your ancestors. Like, you may or may not know where your ancestors come from. I understand that because sometimes we have fragmentations. I have that even in my own family. Like, I know some, but I don't know all. Or I know, like, yes, my mom's family is from Mexico, but I don't know like all the background, like beyond. And sometimes it can't be like, some people they have all their genealogy and things. Not all families have that. Like, sometimes that's lost in the process of this intergenerational trauma. So we honor that. But if you know anything about your ancestral connections, anything at all, just like really honoring that and honoring the spiritual connections, that original spirituality of the planet, however you can connect in that way, even if it's like what you resonate with, I think is an important part of this spiritual process right now. I feel like you may or may not, but I really have memories of past lives. So we carry like even our like cellular level of like past lives when we were other family groups or peoples. I think that's a beautiful thing to honor as well. So I just want to also encourage some of the ways forward and tools that I see are really powerful right now is being able to really just come into community. And whether that's like adopted family, caring for others, just having a space of feeling safe and connected that is a really big part of this shift right now as well. So finding those that resonate with you, that understand you, that get you, but also being curious of people that you don't really understand or like you don't connect with necessarily, but being open to understanding them, but finding those places where you feel safe and accepted so that you can more also accept yourself. Again, connecting with nature is a big part of that. And I really also say our ancestors really got it, the importance of music and dance and connection, chanting. Like these pieces are, I feel like, really offering a healing that people take for granted, or they think it's like frivolous. Oh, why bother dancing? Why bother singing? I've got busy things to do. I got a schedule to follow. Like this is where, again, like the slowing down and just some things are really distorted right now. So the more we can say, yes, I honored time for dancing. I honored time for song. I honored time for movement. This is part of, I think, a healing that's needed right now that our ancestors have understood. And there's really uplifting for our spirit there as well. And also coming into the power of prayer as a way of life, even if that's just having a spiritual connection in whatever way that comes through for you. And some people have a lot of, like they feel a sense of kind of like triggered from religion or organized religion. And so they say they're not spiritual. And I understand that. But even if it's like a nature connection, even if it's a connection with yourself, like just honoring and opening for that can be really powerful and healing as well. And I see by extension, honoring your intuition and coming into a trusting of your own inner knowing. And whether you call that like a gut response or like, a gut reaction, that I feel like is also like your body is telling you something. Your body is giving you some kind of an information. And that's part of intuition that I feel like this is part of learning to walk in the darkness in these times, in the transformation that our ancestors have understood that this is part of just like normal everyday way of life. That these spiritual connections are here for you, guiding you. These are also things that people might say, oh, that's not possible, that's not true, but it absolutely is real and it's here for us. So honoring that, the more you honor it, the more I feel like strengthening it strengthens it. And then just really honoring yourself in the gifts and the purpose that's coming through for you, the vision that you have for yourself. These are really, really important for the healing that's possible for the world right now. I feel like each and every one of you are being given those gifts and those purpose for a reason, because this is part of that sacred connection that you carry. I mean, if you have a connection with animals, there must be some reason. You're here to bring some healing or magic for animals. And if you have a connection with music, there's some reason, because like we all need more of that. So whatever it is, I just say like honor it even more and like take it seriously. There's some reason for it. And it's not for any of us to say whether or not like somebody's path is like good or right or bad. Or, I mean, yes, if it's like in domination code, then we say no, but but if it's like, it's here for a reason to bring healing and it makes you feel good, I think that those are important things. So I just really want to say again, like celebration of our differences, because I feel like the differences that we have are part of the reason. One of the reasons is because it's necessary for this healing that's needed right now, and celebration of the uniqueness that each of you carry, and also just really honoring the original spirituality, as I said, the ancestors. And the vision I feel like that they've had for us is that they want to see us come back to ourselves and who we have meant to been, we've meant to understand these things, but it just got distorted along the way. So it's this great awakening. The great shift is really an awakening that's happening all over the planet, and it's conscious evolution in the making for each and every one of you and each and every one of us. And yes, it can be confusing and sometimes frustrating to look at the world today, but we're all being invited to examine our lives and make new choices that can really help build this brighter future that we all want to see. So I just really want to honor you on your path and what you're here to bring. And thank you for your courage, for showing up in the great gifts and work that you're here bringing. And I just really want to say some closing words, but I think I'll open it up to some Q&A to see if anybody has any experiences or questions or anything that you'd like to talk about that has brought, this conversation, this workshop is bringing up for you.
I'd love to say something.
Is it Ayana?
It's Iana.
Iana, sorry, I wanted to say it right.
Like Rihanna without the R, I say. I want to thank you from, the bottom and top of my heart. I feel like you're speaking my heart, and I love that. It's very beautiful. And one of the things that I don't know if it's a question or just a comment, I guess, that I'm really resonating with that you're saying is I've kind of always had this semi-egoic viewpoint that like my religion is the one religion for everyone, simply because I was raised in nature-based spirituality. And I just feel like it's a save the world type of, spirituality or experience, that if everyone was able to find that connection to the plant creatures and, nature as a whole and their, place within that web, that I would assume, much of the wars and all the negative conquistador stuff would not be there, and part of me wishes that we could just take from the page book of the conquistadors and go and just spread the nature religion everywhere in whatever way that's not creepy, and I just really appreciate you bringing that to light and kind of connecting that with our ancestors and with the fact that there are indigenous cultures no matter where you're from, and that this is like something that resonates with humanity as a whole, and that our human nature is nature. And that's just, I feel like it's so revolutionary, evolutionary. And I just really appreciate your message and your words. So thank you.
Thank you, Iana. Absolutely. I agree. But it's not just me. Like, this is what I feel like I sit with elders, and when I go into ceremonies, or people often think, oh, maybe it's going to be really serious when they sit with like Indigenous elders, but they're usually really funny and like cracking jokes, and it's a really fun time, but they do have a lot of serious things to say. But, I feel like these are things that have come to me, like spiritual messages or my own awareness when I do ceremonial work, or all the things that are my personal experiences, but it's also reflected in the elders' messages. They say, like, I'm like, oh, hey, they say the same thing that I said just like last week. But it's because it's like, this is what kind of like, I feel like the distorted reality that has been here versus like, what is that original spirituality and the narrative and the understanding that is innately within us. I think like we have a sense of it sometimes, but maybe it's fleeting. People kind of see it for a second and then it just goes away. So then maybe they think, oh, I'm just going to dismiss that. So I think what I'm encouraging is say, let's not dismiss those fleeting moments. Let's try to increase them to have it just be like, this is part of us. This is who we are. It's time to not dismiss and just really stand in it and celebrate. But thank you, Iana. I'm glad, and I'm happy that you're doing this too. Anybody else?
Yes, thank you so much for all of this, and thank you for that transmission you shared in the beginning, inviting or remembering. That really touched me deeply. I'm just so grateful for you being willing to share that with us. And I was really relating also to what you said about finding like finding the pieces of our ancestry that we relate with. And when you talked about like how some of those things start to get lost, especially like when there's you have original nations people in your ancestry, or like, me, a mestizo, Latina person, like, you know, I could relate to like having grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents who were either First Nations people or from Mexico, but I just don't know anything about them because of adoptions and loss of language and loss of culture. And just, I really appreciated that invitation to find some way through to a way that I can relate.
Yeah, I think it's just so important. I think probably there's a lot of us that feel that, you know, and also the confusion, like mestizo, as you say, like, you know, it's that mixed heritage. So many, I have on my mom's side too, the Mexican heritage ancestry that, you know, like there's mixture, like the conquistadors are mixed in. It's just part of, you know, it's what happened. I don't necessarily like know a lot or honor that side of myself as much because I just don't really relate, but I guess I probably should think about it more. But I just feel like the more I did recently learn, like, I guess my grandfather's from, my mom got his ancestries from the Yucatan. So like these kinds of pieces, I'm like, oh, that's so beautiful, and that connection there. So just, but even if you kind of knew like, oh, Mexico, like what resonates with me there. And yeah, I just love and appreciate whatever it is for each person and your journey. So just connecting with the ancestors. And you can even do that in your dreams, like asking for a connection to come and just really being open, but not like forcing it. If you force it, it seems like it doesn't happen. So, but yeah, thank you, Britannia. Anybody else? I guess we're going to be wrapping up soon. It's already, the time just flies by.
I have something to say.
Oh, hi, Beth.
Hi. Just thank you for the like grounding ceremony, because all week, like at work, I've been like, I'd have these super angry episodes, like, and then I would just have to like, you know, kind of center myself, because I'm usually on vacation at the country fair right now. So I would just walk around and work. I'm not supposed to be here anyway. And just letting them know, like, you know, I don't work in July. This is July. I shouldn't even be here, but we're missing the country fair, and it's very sad time, because it's such a family oriented time where, you know, every year coming together. And anyway, that's very sad for me. But thanks for helping.
Yeah, I'm glad.
That.
Well, especially, yeah, I also feel that way. So those of you that may be tuning in that haven't experienced the fair in person, I think next year, hopefully, but that will be a great experience. I feel like everybody should experience it at least once, or if not, every year. So I as well miss it. So thanks, Bev. And I hope you have some time that you enjoy this summer despite that. And I'm glad that the centering helped you, especially, yeah, because work can be triggering. That's like one area that I think people really have a lot of things that they get triggered about. So wherever they can just find that time to center themselves, even if it's like for a minute, I think that's important. But thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to come back to this moment actually during the documentary screening where I had asked a question about, you know, getting pushback from your work of dismantling the domination code. And I loved how you turned it around to be like, talk about the support. Like, yes, pushback's always going to be there. And that just makes me think about like what you were talking about gratitude, like even in the hardest moments, like how you really live that teaching of finding what to be grateful for there, and how that can apply to social justice and these liberation movements.
Absolutely. Yes, I feel like that is a practice that I live and teach. My life has had a lot of challenges as everybody else, but like mine has had a lot of challenges. And people are like, well, how can you seem so happy? I'm not always so happy but it's because of my practices. And that is one of the biggest practices, is gratitude and appreciation. And that's what I see. Part of the beauty of this time is how can we really walk with that as one of the tools to really stay empowered and strong and support ourselves, I think is a big part of that. So thank you, Britannia, because like if we can just find one way of like saying how can we be grateful for these children, those graves that were found of the children up in Canada, you know, at the residential boarding schools of Canada. Well, the way that I can turn that around for myself to not be in total trauma and despair about that is to say, well, I'm really glad that they were able to use this technology, that this new technology that they have, that they could shine a light on that and literally open, you know, what was there hidden all these years, and to open as well, shine the light on the trauma that has been important to look at and discuss. So yeah, especially in the social justice, racial justice, like all of these things, part of the healing, that's a great and powerful tool to use, and in our daily lives as well. Thank you. Anybody else? I do want to share a quick quote. I had some other closing words, but I won't go into those right now. But I just like this one, and I'm changing it a little bit because I added hearts and future generations. But I think this quote by Sitting Bull, who is a Lakota leader of Standing Rock, has said, "Let us put our minds and hearts together and see what life we can make for our children and future generations." And I feel like that's where we're at. Like, we're in this place, this invitation is here, rather. I feel like for each and every one of us to really come into just standing in it, like, okay, this is the work that's here to do. And the more we can just like, instead of being resisting, like, oh, this is hard, or this is so ugly or so traumatic, like just kind of just saying like, we have the courage, we have the strength, we're going to do this. And knowing, like, I really want to say, like, I believe and fully have my experiences to say, like, the ancestors are like cheering us like, come on, we could do this, because the future of our planet is really, you know, in dire need of it, for one, and our future generations and all of the peoples and beings that are here now. We've got some work to do, and I feel like all of us are being called to do it, and we have the strength to do it. So I just celebrate you and all that you're about, whatever it might be, your unique path and gifts. You can also connect with me at shawnabluestar.com, and I'm going to have my Reverence Code course starting again in the fall. I'm going to be on the Shamanic Wisdom Summit as a co-host and speaker with my dad, coming up in the middle of this month with the Shift Network. So there's a lot of good things that we're up to, and we do offer those film showings and Q&A with people. And so if you'd like to connect with me, I do healing sessions, a lot of different offerings that I offer for people and support in these times. But it's very good to connect with all of you, and many blessings and a lot of gratitude.
Thank you so much, Shawna, for coming. It's been such a joy to finally meet you and sit with you and receive you after many weeks, months maybe, of planning, and really look forward to continuing to receive your teachings. Thanks for sharing your upcoming work. I've shared those in the chat. And yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. And yeah, many blessings. I hope to see you in person, a lot of you next year.
Blessings, Shawna. Thank you.
Okay. Enjoy. Bye-bye.
All right. So next we have a workshop with Lane East Asian Network. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to unspotlight Brooks's picture. Let's see. Not sure how to do that. Oh, okay. If Yeah, so we're just going to take a short break and return at 4:15 with Lane East Asian Network for their workshop on microaggressions. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And for those on the Zoom, you can stay in or leave and come back. It'll be the same link. And then for those of you on the stream, I'll post the link to the Zoom, and we would love to have you in the Zoom. See you soon.